right, if you would turn into your textbooks, and it looks like we are going to be on page 666. So page 666. All right, so we are in section or chapter 11.4, using samples, centers, and spreads to describe data. Okay, so previously we were asked to estimate the number of minutes you studied each week. For the school board report, your principal asked every math teacher in Allentown Middle School to estimate the amount of time their students spend studying each week. Allentown's math middle decides to take a sample of 8 students in her math class. Then she determined the mean amount of time students spend studying each week. What is the population? Okay, so the population, all right, the population is students in Allentown Middle School. Okay. What is the sample that Allentown's middle school will use to estimate the average amount of time students will study? And the sample size is 8 students who are selected. Eight students who are selected. All right, and then we can skip the parameter and statistics because we don't mess with that during 7th grade. Okay, but let's look down here. So Maria selects a random sample of 8 students. She uses line 1 of the random table number at the back of the lesson to select 8 students. The students Maria selects are students 12, 13, 10, 11, 16, 14, 4, and 20. The minutes these students spend studying are 60, 120, 50, 150, 150, 50, 100, and 200. Then she writes the number of minutes each student spent studying in the table shown. Finally, she determined the mean number of minutes these 8 students spend studying is 110 minutes. Okay, so it looks like here's her sample size number 1. And here are all the students that she chose. Here's each of the number of minutes that they spent. And then she found the mean number of minutes. Well, remember, to find the mean, what you need to do is, let me do this up here. Mean equals all numbers added divided by total numbers have. I know that doesn't make English sense, but you add up all the numbers that you have divided by the total numbers that you have. So 888 divided by 8, which gets you 10. Okay. How did Maria determine the mean number of minutes students spent studying? If I would have looked down, I would have been able to answer this. So what she did is she determined all the numbers added together and divided by 8 total of sample number given. Okay. All right. Take 4 more samples of 8 students, use the data at the end of the lesson, and use the random number table at the end of the chapter to gather your information. You can use any line in the random number table except for line 1. Record your results in the table in the first 3 columns of the table, then determine the mean for each sample. So we're going to take 4 more samples, and it looks like I have placed it right here, but on page 687. So page 687 is where you guys are going to find your random samples here. Okay, so what you guys are going to do, what I would suggest doing is finding a random sample generator and plugging it in through 1 through 20 and spinning it, and then whatever 8 numbers pop up, those are the numbers that you are going to go with here. So I have went ahead and done that for myself. So for my data sample of 2, I got numbers 17, 1, 18, 16, not 19, 16, 9, 19, 11, and 4. And notice that if you do an online generator, if you see the same number twice, just go ahead and skip it and go down to the next one. Well, number 17 spent 200 minutes, then 90, then 150, 60, 90, 200. Oh, I skipped one. I messed this all up right here. Oh, is this one broken? There it goes. All right, so 200, 120, 90, 150, 60, 90, 150, and 100. Okay, and once we added this up, we're going to get 960 over 8, which is roughly 120 minutes. Now, this last column here, just go ahead and X it out because we will not deal with it this year. Okay, all right, I have 3 more samples to go. So sample number 13, I have student 18 at 90, 8 at 300, 12 at 60, 5 at 150, 2 at 60, number 20 at 200, 13 at 120, and then 4 at 100. My average came out to be 180 over 8, which is equal to 135 minutes. Sample number 4 was 17, 9, 15. Oh, let's do 200, 60, 30, 19 at 90, 10 at 50, 2 at 60, 13 at 120, and 11 at 150, which came out to be 760 over 8, which is roughly 95 minutes per student. And then one more sample. We have number 18 at 90, number 1 again at 120, 16 at 150, 3 at 100, 17 at 200, 13 at 120, 9 at 60, and then 2 at 60, which our mean average here is 900 over 8, which is roughly 112.5 minutes. Okay, 112.5 minutes. So what do you notice about the mean of each data sample? And the mean varies from other means from other samples. So what we notice is that out of our means, so we've got, let's see, we're roughly around the hundreds. So I've got 110, then 120, then 135, 95, and then 112.5. So what we notice about the mean of each sample, between all means, whoops, we are averaging between 100 and 120 minutes. Okay. And then if you think about the mean means mean states number of minutes studying on average. That means if I were to add up all of these kids right here, and then that's what I've done is I've added up all of my kids here and I've divided it by 8, that roughly each kiddo, if we would have said equally, would have spent about 112 and a half minutes per week studied. Okay. All right, number 5, plot the sample means on a number line. Then use the results to estimate the mean number of minutes spent studying each week for the samples. All right, so I've got the mean. So what I'm going to do is go back through each individual mean. So I have 112.5. Well, I'm going to kind of do a little X right here. I have 95, so I'm going to do an X above 95. Then I spent 135 minutes for one mean. That was my data sample 3. Data sample 2 was 120, so 120. And then data sample 3 was 110. So I'm going to have a little X right here at 110. Okay. So the mean of 5 samples is probably around 110 and 115. Okay, so wait, let me rephrase that. Plot the sample number line, then use the results to estimate the mean number of minutes spent studying each week of the samples. Well, just go ahead and plot those and then work it. We don't have to deal with that right now. Okay. Calculate the mean number of minutes spent studying each week for the 5 meets. Nope. Don't deal with that one because we do not mess with that during 7th grade. For example, you calculate the 5-number summary of the first sample of this. All right. So, and the last thing that we need to look at is our 5-number summary here. Okay. For example, you calculate the 5-number summary for the first sample of the Allentown Middle School math class. The data values are shown. Determine the minimum and maximum. The minimum is 50. The maximum is 200. So minimum is the lowest. Maximum is the highest. Determine the median of this set. It is more efficient to write the data in ascending order. So I can go through here to here. And below are there are an even number of data points. You will need to determine the mean of the 2 middle numbers, which was 100 and 120. So they added them together, divided by 2 to get to 110. And now that you've determined the median, write the data values less than the median in ascending order to determine Q1. So I'm going to take 50 to 100, and I'm going to get between 50 and 60 again. So I'll have to divide to get to 55. And I'm going to do that the same thing for the upper quartile, for quartile range 3, to get me to 150. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you would, please, we're going to fill in our 5-number summary here for the IQR for our second sample. You conduct or record your calculations in the table shown. So if you would, please go ahead and pause, and I want you guys to find the minimum, median, maximum, Q1 and Q3 for my 4 data sets, or if you did yours for your 4 data sets. Okay. Once you get to the interquartile range, what you're going to do is take Q3, subtract it by Q1, and your interquartile range is 95. Now, the range is the maximum minus the minimum, but IQR is Q3 minus Q1 to get you to your IQR. Okay. All right. So for my second data set, I had 60 for my lowest, 200 for my highest, 110 for my middle. Q1 was 90. Q3 was 150. Number 3, I was at 60, and then 110, 300, 75, and 175. 4 was 30, 200, 60 was the middle, 50 was the lowest, and then 105 was the highest in QR. 60, 110, 200, 75, and then 135. Okay. Now to find the IQR, I'm going to take 150, subtract 90 from that, and then I'm going to get 60. So 175 minus 75, I'm going to get 100. 105 minus 50, I'm going to get 55. And then 135 minus 75, I'm going to get 60. Okay, I'm going to get 60. All right, if you guys have any questions, please let us know.